what were you telling me about the seller carry second thing? And so I presented him the like properties listed for 1.3. And so I presented the full DSCR at 800,000. I presented the 50. I presented it as a 60-40. Private money is 60% of the deal, 40% seller carry second at 4% interest. And your math on how you were getting your cash flow is really fast and good. I've basically just been kind of trying to cheat it for these first two and be like, if it's like a 0.9 DSCR, I'm like, at least it's like some sort of like, let's just see what continues to happen. So that's how I set the 4% interest rate, is I was like, just trying to hit that like 0.9 DSCR. So seller carry, and then that came to a price of 1 million. And then I put, okay, in at 90% seller financing, and I just picked 5.8%, it's 1.2 million. So I presented all that. Didn't text me back. My bridge lender, or the reason why I like the private money people that I'm using right now too, is just because the rep he'll just email me back very, very quickly. Like that's really helpful for me at the stage that I'm at right now, is just willing to brainstorm. And so I've just been brainstorming like ongoing email chains with them. And that's been really helpful, helping me form my strategy. And he actually checked back in on me and he was like, hey, the loan committee, and like, I want to know, how's it going? Are you still in contact with the broker? I pinged the broker again. Broker texted me back. This is after another couple of weeks, and said, hey, he's not interested in anything below 1.25. And I write back like 3 minutes later. I'm like, kind of the same thing. I was like, okay, that can work. Like, okay, that can work. For that to work, let's do 50% seller carry at 1%. Like, and they wrote back, and because I redid the math, and I was like, okay, to keep it at that like 0.9 DSCR, like that's what it is. Then he wrote back and he was like, 1% interest, like question mark. And I was like, yep. And he was like, yeah, that won't work. And I'm like, and we kind of texted a little bit, I don't know, a couple other things that didn't really matter, just sentences. And he goes, okay, yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's penciling for you with what the seller wants or whatever. And I was like, I just said, I mean, that's all good, but let me know, like, what interest rate do they want then? Like, and he was like, oh, like probably between like 5 and 6. And I was like, okay, like, as you can see above, the 5 to 6 offer is the 1.2 million at the 90%. And I was like, but you already let me know that they want more than 10% down. He was like, yeah, they want more than 10% down. And I'm like, okay, well, then that's why. And I circled all the way back to the 1 million. I was like, that's why. Well, then honestly, my favorite is this one. Like, and that was how the chain ended for that night. And yeah, it was just, that part was interesting. So it's funny that the buy side brokers that I was talking to are like, oh, you're gonna have to search really hard to find that. But then it's kind of like the same thing on the seller side, where they're like, okay, like if all of this stuff has to be exactly correct for you, like that also is going to be like, I would think, like kind of hard to find, because I don't get the like and this is where, like, if you have 40 to 50% down, I don't understand why your choice would be to buy a value add multifamily building with it. Like, why would that be your choice for liquid money like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think some key points you hit on is, so you did the 3 offer, and the way you think and act, take facts action, you'll probably get a multifamily deal, right? Like all my students that closed, they just took consistent action like you are doing. But what I love about the 3 offer is you have so much leverage, right? Like you're just ping-ponging back and forth between your offers. They're like, oh, like this is what the seller wants, but I did give you the seller wants. It's offer number 1, right? So like you're kind of like jerking them around, and then you're like, but he wants 1.25. And in order for me to get 1.25, you have to seller carry at 1%. And well, if you want a higher interest rate, then my offer doesn't go down. So like, it's just literally math. Like, and that's why I love kind of the Jedi mind trick of like the multiple offers is that I just told him, I'm like, oh, like, why'd you do? Because most people are offended by 1% interest. And I know that.
Right.
And from what I heard, the broker was projecting, because I wouldn't take 1% interest. You probably wouldn't, but the broker probably wouldn't, but never put your mindset into the seller.
Want to know what I felt like pitching? I almost texted this too, but the funny part about this, and this goes back to how we talked about shopping for small businesses too, and like biz, buy, sell. Like, I almost wanted to pitch back and be like, okay, what about this? What if I just joint venture with the person and I just build the ADU for them? Like, how about they keep the building and I'll build the ADU for them, and that'll bump the NOI, and then we'll sell it and split it as partners. Like, because that's what's so funny about the other, because the buy side brokers would tell me too. They're like, oh, well, if you don't have the down payment, then you just got to go find partners. And I was like, I agree. Like, I've got my list of 5 to 6 guys that I'm like talking and saying like, hey, starting to do this. Are you guys interested in this? What's your timeline? I agree. All right, that's good. But also, if this guy's already sitting here with the building and wants to clearly have liquidity or like do something with it, they're basically advertising that they would like a partner. Like, when you're buying something from them, you are like partnering together to make the transaction. So part of me was like, because especially with the LA, just like tenant buyouts and just ADU conversions and all that stuff, I don't understand why. Yeah, I guess just everyone is so dynamic. Like, the world is so dynamic. I would think that just partner with them, but then the broker doesn't make any money.
Yeah, I think people are so fixed, like sellers are so fixated, like they just want to sell, right? And they just want to get rid of it, but they're not like gonna think creative out the gate because they're still holding out for hope. But like, wait until like your property is unsold for like 5, 6, 7 months. They're gonna remember, hey, that Brian guy, he submitted me a couple of offers and he seemed pretty flexible. So a lot of times people have to be beaten, unfortunately, into the creative offer. But I already planted the seed in their mind, right? And by all means, they could sell the property and then you just move on to the next one, right? And that's what I love about the multiple offers and that they're willing to play. And like I said, it's just literally math. Like, I always do 1% interest because I know I can make the most aggressive offer because I just want a cash flow, right? Yeah. So I was hoping with my offer, like he would play ball, like, hey, no, we want a higher interest rate. And when he says higher interest rate, I'm like, well, my offer's gonna go down. Yep. So how do you want to make your money, right? Do you want to make your money through me paying more, or do you want to make your money through monthly payments of interest payments to you?
Right.
So it's just literally math. Like, the higher the interest rate, my offer goes down. And if down payment, so if they want me to do a larger down payment, guess what? My offer's gonna go down as well. Because for me, I'm optimizing for leverage and cash flow.
Right. The cost of money. The next thing I want to do, which I did this a little bit, but I want to hit it harder, is filter by. So still do LoopNet, still doing the buy box, but then filter for old. And I haven't filtered for old yet. And actually, what's funny about LoopNet, at least like unless I'm not using it right, is the monthly filter, you have to like manually set it. You can't just be like older than 90 days or like older than, whereas Zillow lets you do that pretty easily.
And Redfin, Redfin lets you save your filters. Yeah.
Like your strategy of finding the commercial broker that's like listing on Zillow, and you're just like kind of creating that mismatch of like, that's interesting. And it creates interesting conversations. I found one that I liked that was like 7 months old and just still up on LoopNet, called the broker, and just nothing, like never heard back. And you can also tell the quality of the pictures go down, the quality of the description goes down, the ones that just like fell all the way through the cracks. But what do you think about, I just need to try harder getting them on the phone is the next thing I want to do kind of with some of these older ones.
Yeah, you just gotta hit them multiple ways, right? Call them, text them, email them. And for me, it's always the introduction. So I always, my introductions, I think I told you before, I usually stance that I own apartments, right?
Yep.
So they know I'm serious. Like, I own an apartment that's 3 miles away from yours, 26 units. So they know I have credibility. And usually I'll say, I'm going to need these documents, T12 rent roll, so I can get to my lender to underwrite it, so I can get an offer rolling. And I always mention offer because that's when brokers salivate because they want their commission checks, right?
Yep.
And I want to give you your commission check, but we have to make this work. So it's just really that persistence. And honestly, like, the deal that you see on LoopNet or Zillow isn't probably the deal I'm going to buy from the broker. It's the deal that they bring you later because they know what type of investor you are. So now this guy, he owns 6 listings, all 20 to 40 units. So I know that he's a guy that gets small apartment complexes in Oklahoma City that I'm targeting, but most of them are turnkey. So they're already renovated. I'm paying top of market price or above market price. So I'm okay with that as long as it cash flows and I don't have to do any work. It's more passive, right? So low money down, $200K down, cash flow 3 to 4K a month. I don't have to do much work. Hey, I'm not going to complain, right? Just the terms. So now I already got in his mind because I made 2 offers now. One offer was egregiously low, didn't like it. Another offer, hey, I gave you the price. But he didn't like my terms. So now when he has another, I texted him like, hey, because he asked me like, hey, do you have any other properties that we can use as collateral? Because they were nervous. I was like, yeah, I have plenty of properties that you can take us. If that makes you more comfortable, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Banks do that anyways. I don't care. If that makes you comfortable, by all means, if you want to see my 26 unit, you can drive there. You can talk to my property manager, right? Like if you want to build trust, I'm some stranger in California. I get it. You don't trust me yet. That's why you probably rejected my offer. So, but with the broker, he knows how I think now. So I just said, hey, like if you're willing to play creative, I can get you your price. If you're not willing to go creative and you want straight sell, well, my offer is probably gonna be too low. You know, so, and I'm not the type to put 30, 40, 50% down. That's not why I'm doing real estate, right? I want to leverage and get in. I want to buy a deal of no money down if possible, right? But that's why I do real estate. And I'm okay to wait for that deal because it will come. And eventually people know how you think and operate. And they just need to know that we are making offers, right? Like you've made multiple offers. I've made multiple offers for the same deal. So they know, hey, situation changed. We're willing to play ball. Right? What doesn't matter is the seller willing to play ball and dance. And, you know, the answer was no. And, you know, it's okay. Like you said, just move on, follow up, or maybe they'll reach out to you later.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I liked what you said last time about, just you're building your reputation of like, this is the way I operate. This is the way I operate. So if you bring me things, I'll run it through the system and I'll send you a number. For the first like 3 to 4 reach outs that I did, I was doing the thing where I was like taking their gross number and then I was putting my own expense ratio on it, my vacancy ratio on it, and I was kind of beating up their NOI number because I was asking for the OM, and then I would beat up their NOI with my NOI slightly reduced price. But what I started doing that progressed the conversation farther, where I at least made it to this stage of talking about the 3 offers, was kind of the way that you could just be so nonchalant and be like, okay, sweet, that's your price, then like this is the terms. I almost do that with the NOI now, where I'm like, all right, like, I just looked at your marketing document. I call them now and I'm like, hey, the building looks awesome. Like, this looks great. Like, everything about it looks awesome. Like, and so based on this NOI, like, and then I just take their NOI and then run it through the filters, like, of the 3 and try to hit that, like, some sort of DSCR that would be, like, somehow manageable.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I've seen a lot of OMs myself and my students, and like, well, they leave a lot of stuff out. Like sometimes they leave property tax out. I've seen they leave insurance out. It's like hilarious. I'm like, dude, this is like a professional brokerage company, and you left out insurance. Like on the 28 unit that I offered that he wanted 2.1 million on, they calculated NOI. It had no insurance in there. I'm like, dude, of course I might need insurance on this deal unless I'm buying cash. So it's just like kind of like laughable to me that like they're presenting this document and these are like kind of real estate